Good morning, guys. So today I'm going to read you a book about coral reefs. Now, coral reefs are in the ocean. And a lot of people like to scuba dive or snorkel around there. And this is a place where a lot of fish live. So we're going to learn about all the amazing creatures that live in a coral reef. You may have seen these in movies like Finding Nemo. Okay. A city under the sea. The shallow ocean waters look calm, but under the surface, a coral reef is a busy place. Hundreds, even thousands of different creatures swim and hide along the reef. There they find food and shelter. They make their home in this city under the sea. So, in this coral reef, thousands of different creatures find food and they have homes here, and it's almost like they're living in a big city together. A coral reef is a very important ecosystem. More sea creatures live along coral reefs than in any other part of the ocean. Reefs are found in many spots around the world. Most reefs grow in shallow, clean ocean waters on either side of the equator. They need sunlight and warm temperatures year-round to survive. So, in these coral reefs is where most fish and animals in the ocean live. Okay, and you can see these spots on the maps, the little orange spots that show you where the coral reefs are. You'll notice they're all along this red line, and this red line shows us where there's the most sunlight and warmth on our earth. So they need sun to get through the water, keep it warm, and to help the coral reefs grow. Reef builders. Coral reefs look like they are made of rocks, but in fact, they are groups of animals called corals. Each coral group is made up of separate coral polyps. In reef ecosystems, there are two kinds of coral, hard and soft. Only hard coral polyps form reefs. They're named for the hard skeletons they build at the base of their soft bodies. So in these coral reefs, some of the coral that grows, it looks sort of like cool plant flowers, are hard, and some of them are soft. One coral polyp can be as small as the head of a pin, but when many polyps join together, they make a reef that can stretch for miles. New polyps build their hard skeletons on top of old ones. Over many years, these layers of skeletons slowly grow into a coral reef. So these plants and these polyps, their skeletons are on the outside, and they give it a hard shell. And so over many years, they grow right on top of each other. And the hard skeletons build together, and they make a big coral reef. That's a nice sturdy place for animals to live. In the zone, all coral reefs have 3 zones. The reef flat zone often stretches towards land. The crest zone is the highest part of the reef, and the reef slope zone faces the open ocean. It's the deepest part of the reef. Okay, and so you can see this little diagram here. We know it's a diagram because it's a picture and it's got its labels. So it's showing us here is the flat zone. Here's the crest zone where it comes to a little peak, like a little mountain. And then here's the slope zone where it slopes off into the open ocean. Neighbors on the reef. Creatures big and small can be found on reefs around the world. Sea stars travel slowly along a reef's surface. Giant clams rest there too. Tube sponges stretch up from a reef like small chimneys. Seahorses wrap their tails around pieces of coral. Seahorses wrap their tails around pieces of coral. Sea turtles swim around reefs. Eels hide in reefs' cracks. So, some of the things that live on the reef, right? Sea stars, giant clams, seahorses, sea turtles, and even eels. Many animals use camouflage to hide along the reef. Some use it to stay safe from other animals that could eat them. Others use it to hide while they hunt. A stonefish's bumpy body blends in with the coral. A trumpetfish dives down and holds still. A long, thin body stretches up like a tall sponge. A cuttlefish can change its shape and skin color to match the coral reef. So I don't know if you can even see in these pictures, it's really tricky, but here is a stonefish, and doesn't he match exactly the coral around him? Here is the trumpetfish hiding among the tall sponges. And here's a cuttlefish, right? You can see two eyes, 1, 2, and it also matches the reef around him. They're so tricky to find in these pictures. Plants play an important role in a coral reef ecosystem. Tiny algae lives inside the coral polyp's soft bodies. The algae use sunlight to make food for the coral, and this helps the coral grow. Seagrass can grow on the reef flat zone. It helps trap mud from rivers and that flow into the ocean. Seagrass also provides food for dugongs and sea turtles. Look at that. I always called that a manatee. I have always wanted to see a manatee. The reef in darkness. As night falls, life along the reef changes. Different animals come out to find food. Squirrelfish use their large eyes to search for shrimp in the darkness. Octopuses stretch their arms over the reef to feel for food. Sharks hunt for fish, and cone snails catch fish and worms. So just like nighttime here on land, some animals come out and start looking for food. Right? So octopuses even live in the reef, and they start to come out at night. Sharks and snails and other things. 6 cool facts. Most coral reefs today are between 5,000 and 10,000 years old. There are more than 800 different kinds of hard coral in the ocean, in the world's oceans. Corals have growth rings just like trees. Brain corals can live for 900 years. You see this coral, it looks just like our brains. So they call it a brain coral. The Great Barrier Reef is off Australia's northeast coast, the largest coral reef system on Earth. It can be seen from space. The first coral reefs on Earth formed 240 million years ago before dinosaurs were alive. Coral reefs are important to more than just animals and plants. They're important to people too. Millions of people eat the fish that live along the reefs. Many people earn money from fishing or taking tourists to visit reefs. Reefs also help protect people and houses on the land. They block big waves from crashing the shore. So reefs are a popular place. They're by the beach out here, and they can keep big waves from crashing into the beach so that you're protected. And also people like to fish along them. Many reefs are in danger. Scientists are worried about threats to coral reefs. Ocean waters around the world are getting warmer. Coral polyps die when the water is too warm. Pollution sometimes spills into the ocean. It can harm reefs. Fishing and boating can also damage fragile reefs. So we've talked about pollution and litter and things, all that trash that can get into the ocean. And all of that damages the coral reefs where all these fish live and eat. But there's good news. Many people are working to save reefs. Volunteers help clean up pollution on land and at sea. Some countries have special areas called preserves where coral reefs are protected. Divers and swimmers like you can help too. The next time you see a beautiful coral reef, look, but don't touch. And that is the end of our book. That was a lot of information about coral reefs. So I'm going to give you guys some more resources, little videos and things you can do to learn about coral reefs. But we know that coral reefs are the place where most of the fish and creatures in the ocean live, like an octopus, sea turtles, all the different types of fish. Lobsters, crabs, snails, all sorts of cool things live in the coral reefs. And that coral reefs are sort of like big cities where all these fish and creatures can live in their homes in the reef, in the coral, or the sea anemones. And they can find food and shelter there and places to hide. And like we learned about yesterday, they have different ways of adapting so that they can hide. They might live deep in a cave in the coral reef, or they might be able to change colors to match their coral reef and where they hide. So, pretty cool stuff. Keep exploring coral reefs and oceans today, guys.